Welcome back to Mornings on 2 at 6:57. Family members and friends are telling us about one of the people on board a medical helicopter when it crashed in Sacramento. Nurse Susie Smith was one of 3 people who were hurt, along with the pilot and a paramedic, when the helicopter went down on the Highway 50 Monday evening. The pilot managed to clear a series of homes before crashing onto an empty spot on the highway. Ms. Smith's family and friends described her as being an exceptional person.
I lit a candle and I started praying and I cried because it just seems like always the best people in this world seem to be the ones that get hurt or, things happen to.
All 3 of the victims on that helicopter are in critical condition in a nearby hospital. The San Mateo County Board of Supervisors getting ready to vote on whether to remove embattled Sheriff Christina Corpus from her job. Now, this comes after a judge who oversaw the hearing held in August on whether Sheriff Corpus could keep her job turned over a 42-page opinion concluding that she violated laws related to her official duties. The attorney for the sheriff says the process was flawed from the beginning, and starting with 2 supervisors openly saying she had to go before the removal was even codified. He says he will appeal to Attorney General Rob Bonta.
As a result of how they've written these rules, they've completely trampled on Sheriff Corpus's due process rights. This wouldn't happen to a man. There's no doubt in my mind that that is playing a big role.
The Board of Supervisors will need a 4/5 vote in order to remove Sheriff Corpus. The board has 30 days to take a vote. If they do remove her, a special election will be called by early February.
Things like this shouldn't be happening where kids play, families come to play soccer games, picnics.
Neighbors shocked after police find a body at a park in Oakland. The mysterious death is sparking worries in the community, why the crime may have originated elsewhere. National Guard troops on standby in Chicago. They could soon deploy onto city streets. Details on the legal challenges facing the Trump administration's latest crackdown. Then we're more than a week into the federal government shutdown. While the path forward remains unclear, the White House is delivering a major threat to furloughed workers, upping the urgency to get a deal done.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning, I'm Gassi Mikaelian.
And good morning, I'm Dave Clark. It's Wednesday morning, it's October 8th. Good morning to you.
Nice to be next to you.
Well, Steve is here and the cooler weather is moving in. Did you pick up any?
Thankfully, yes, because Steve, I was outvoted 3-1 yesterday and we turned the AC on. I said no more after this.
You have a nice unit there, your AC
We
unit.
do. It's a heat pump.
I would have outvoted you too. It was a little warm yesterday.
Turn it on too.
All right, but today Mother Nature is going to supply. Now, yesterday when we took a look here at right above the Claremont at the Caldecott Tunnel, it was 73. It's 56 now. The wind was north-northeast. Today it's south, and it is 4 to 12. That's a big change in 24 hours, and the low cloud deck is moving in. So 50s on the temp. City seems to be stuck at 60, but everyone else is in the 50s. So Santa Rosa, Oakland, Livermore, San Jose, Arrows are all down. 72, 70, 76, and 74 on the forecast highs. 2 systems, one in the Gulf of Alaska, the low off our coast is being drawn up by that system, and that's increasing the onshore breeze. Also that south wind, kind of mild on the coast in Santa Clara Valley, really mild. But everything is changing, and it's going to change for a while, at least a week. We'll see 60s and 70s. It begins today. All right, Sal is here at 7:01, picking up somewhere.
Yeah, it's slower in almost every regard now. 7 o'clock, let me turn this down real quick. 7 o'clock is when things start getting a little bit slower. This is a look at the Bay Bridge. Now, this is not unusually slow. It's backed up a little bit beyond the maze, and the traffic is going to be okay once you get onto the bridge. If you are driving on San Francisco's freeways, this commute looks okay. Once you get onto 101, it's a little bit slow approaching Cesar Chavez, and the San Mateo and the Dumbarton Bridge look good. The South Bay is beginning to get more crowded. 7:01, let's get back to the headlines.
All right, Sal, thank you. Well, Oakland police are busy. They've launched a new homicide investigation after finding the body of a man who's been shot at Arroyo Viejo Park. Now, the body was found yesterday morning near Olive and Ritchie Streets. KTVU has learned investigators are looking into the possibility the man was shot someplace else and then dumped at the park. That park has a playground, a rec center, and a community garden, and it's very popular with children.
Thoughts and prayers go out to the victim, their family, and their survivors, but one loss of life in Oakland is way too many, and we want to ensure that we provide a safe, clean place for people to grow up.
Now, at this point, no suspects have been identified. Oakland police want anyone with information about the case to contact them immediately.
Across the bay, San Francisco is facing a major policy battle over how to house people who are homeless. Supervisor Matt Dorsey has introduced legislation to halt city funding for supportive housing that allows drug use. Supervisor Dorsey is challenging the long-standing Housing First model, which prioritizes housing without immediate sobriety. He argues the current drug-tolerant approach is a deadly experiment and says a drug-free environment is essential for recovery. The move has ignited a fierce debate between elected officials and public health advocates who support harm reduction programs.
Our time now 7:03 in Chicago. National Guard troops from Texas have arrived at a Chicago Army base, and as soon as today, they may be patrolling Chicago's streets. Lawsuits have already been filed by the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois aimed at blocking the National Guard from coming in, and a court hearing is set for tomorrow. A similar lawsuit in Oregon blocked Guard deployments in Portland. President Trump threatens to invoke the Insurrection Act. That would allow him to get around court rulings on the National Guard deployments.
We have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up.
Donald Trump is using our service members as political props and as pawns in his illegal effort to militarize our nation's cities.
If previously federal courts have ruled that President Trump's use of the National Guard as law enforcement in Los Angeles violated federal law. A judge blocked the White House from using National Guard troops to make arrests or conduct searches or patrols, but the Trump administration appealed that ruling.
On this day 8 of the federal government shutdown, there is no agreement in sight. The House is on recess this week. The Senate has now voted down the same proposal 5 times. The Republican bill would keep the government funded through mid-November at current levels, but Democrats remain firm on wanting to add an extension for Affordable Care Act tax credits, which will expire at the end of the year. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is now suggesting the more than 750,000 federal workers currently furloughed may not receive back pay once the government reopens.
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay? Thank you.
The president's remarks echo a draft memo from the Office of Management and Budget, which would contradict a law signed by President Trump after the last shutdown in 2019. That law requires federal workers to receive back pay during any funding lapse.
All right, our time is 7:05. Voting here in California on Prop 50 is underway. If it is approved, the measure would temporarily redraw several congressional districts favoring Democrats. It's a response to the redistricting in Texas that favored Republicans. As KTVU's Mark Sayer tells us, state Republicans are arguing rural industries could take a big hit if Prop 50 is passed.
Timber permits for doing normal timber operations are extremely difficult to get.
Representative Doug LaMalfa has represented California's 1st congressional district for more than a decade. Spanning a large region from the Oregon border to near Sacramento, he is well versed in issues not top of mind for most urban voters, such as the introduction of the Canadian gray wolf, which he says is killing livestock.
And nobody will have a voice there in Washington, D.C. if it ends up being, a Bay Area representative who is in favor of these wolves being introduced and put in the backyard of these folks up here.
But if Proposition 50 passes, LaMalfa's district would be carved up. His far northern counties would be moved into District 2, including Marin and parts of Sonoma counties. His existing District 1 would swing west from the Nevada state line all the way to Santa Rosa.
And so you're going to have folks in Sausalito tied to folks in Cedarville, California, which probably nobody knows where that is, except I do.
Representative LaMalfa says the North State, as it's called, has long felt it is dictated to by the urban centers of California, but he says his constituents also feel there is a lack of understanding about the value the rural industries provide.
If you want paper, if you want timber, if you want any of these products, a rural person probably had to get his hands dirty. Mine are hurt dirty from farming right now.
Modoc County, at the far northeastern corner of California, bordering Nevada and Oregon, has no stoplights. It would be lumped in with Sausalito, a plan which Modoc County Supervisor Ned Coe could simply not believe.
8,500 people in the entire county of Modoc. There's multitude of towns and small cities in Marin County that exceed that. The population base balance is so skewed to a North Bay area that I don't see that we would ever have adequate representation again.
If Proposition 50 passes, the new maps would be used through the 2030 elections. I'm Mark Sayer, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Now, under the congressional maps proposed by Prop 50, Congressman Doug LaMalfa would lose conservative counties, including Shasta, Siskiyou, and Modoc, to District 2. District 2, currently represented by Jared Huffman, spans the North Coast from the Golden Gate Bridge all the way up to the Oregon boundary.
Well, it looks like a big district and a diverse one, but fortunately, for the last 13 years, I've represented a really big and diverse district that has a lot of urban and rural areas that are very much like Shasta, Siskiyou, and Modoc counties. So it's not going to be all that different. It's just a little bigger.
Representative Huffman said he's confident he could represent an expanded district and says he supports Prop 50. We also asked about criticism that he'd be out of touch with issues affecting rural communities.
I've served with Doug for the last 13 years. He often sees them as sort of political fodder and things to fight about rather than to dig in and kind of talk through and try to solve. So I'm going to bring a very different approach to all of this. I accept climate science. I don't like pitting rural and urban areas against each other like we're people from different species or something.
If Prop 50 is passed, Huffman would be running in a new district with a 25-point Democratic advantage. Representative LaMalfa's district would flip from a 25-point Republican advantage to a 12-point Democratic edge.
Time is 7:09, and we do have the typical slow traffic that you are used to seeing out there. I've been looking at the East Bay to start, and we do see slow traffic on 80. Pretty solid from Richmond all the way down to the Bay Bridge. And when you do get to the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, it will be backed up, of course, to the maze. It's going to look like it normally does. Once you get onto the freeway, it looks all right. San Francisco is much better today anyway than yesterday when we had some issues. And BART is recovering from some earlier issues as well. At 7:10, let's go back to the desk.
All right, Sal, thank you. Well, another UC Berkeley professor has won a Nobel Prize. The discovery his team made that led to major breakthroughs in chemistry. Plus,
this city is and always will be the best food city in the United States.
Business and city leaders celebrating a new bar and restaurant at San Francisco's Union Square, the celebrity partnership that brought the culinary exposition to life.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Welcome back to Mornings on 2. It's now 7:13. Here's some of the stories we're following today. Thousands of Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers across Northern California are preparing for a major strike next week. Starting Monday, as many as 30,000 workers may be on picket lines. Participants are demanding better pay, better staffing levels, and better retirement benefits. Union leaders say the 5-day strike is expected to affect Bay Area facilities in Oakland, San Francisco, Walnut Creek, and San Jose. Today, the Santa Rosa School District will present their plan to close and merge a middle school. The proposal would fast-track the closing of Rincon Valley Middle School and move more than 700 students to Maria Carrillo School by the fall of 2027, 2 years earlier than originally planned. The school district is pushing for the sped-up timeline to save up to $2.2 million. And a man from Livermore who was deported to Mexico may soon return to his family in the East Bay. Miguel Lopez was detained back in May by ICE agents when he reported for a scheduled immigration check-in in San Francisco. A federal judge says she'll issue a tentative or full order by the next court hearing that's scheduled for the end of this month. The attorney for Lopez told the Bay Area News Group he sees that as a positive sign that he may be allowed to come back.
New this morning, another UC Berkeley professor has won the Nobel Prize, this time for chemistry. Omar Yaghi was awarded the prize this morning along with 2 other scientists for their work on developing a new type of molecular architecture. The Nobel Committee says the discovery led to huge breakthroughs in the field of chemistry. Yaghi was able to use that new molecular architecture to create a microwave-sized water harvester that can capture water from the air, even in desert environments. Yaghi talked about his accomplishment and how science can bring the world together.
Science is a language that allows all people to talk to each other. That's one of the few languages where we all understand chemical formulas, whether we're Japanese, Australians, Koreans, Chinese, or American. A chemical formula is universal.
UC Berkeley says Yaghi is the 28th faculty member to win the Nobel Prize, the 5th winner in just the past 5 years.
All right, our time is 7:16. Warrior star Steph Curry is expanding his incredible resume. KTVU's Ali Rasmus in the studio now to tell us about the grand opening of Steph's new restaurant in downtown San Francisco and how his new partnership may bring fresh energy to Union Square. Good morning, Ali.
Good morning, Dave. Steph Curry teaming up with celebrity chef Michael Mina to open up 2 new businesses inside the Westin St. Francis Hotel in Union Square. And there's a lot of big names who are on hand for the grand opening. The first venture is a relaunch of Mina's Steakhouse, Bourbon Steak. The celebrity chef returns to the neighborhood where he first launched an award-winning restaurant decades ago.
Bourbon Steak is not just going to be a steakhouse, I promise you. We're going to make this such a special place for this city because this city deserves so much. This city is and always will be the best food city in the United States.
The new restaurant is opening right alongside Curry's new bar, the 8th Rule. The reservations-only bar is meant to be an exclusive spot and only has about 40 seats. The speakeasy-style space will showcase Curry's gentleman's cut bourbon.
We want to bring energy to the city. We want to bring community. We want to bring fun. We want to bring culture. That's what San Francisco is about. And obviously, we're starting this new year with the Warriors. We're starting a new, experience here all at the same time. So I'm happy to be here.
San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie joined the celebration. He talked about the city's efforts to attract more tourism and bring a sense of safety to Union Square. Mina's restaurant and Curry's Bourbon Bar will both open to the public this Friday.
All right, thank you, Ali. All right, let's check traffic now. 7:18. Sal, everybody behaving for you?
It's a better commute than it was yesterday,
Okay.
Dave and Garcia, that's for sure. At this time, anyway. Let's go and take a look at San Francisco first. I want to show you the map. Yesterday, of course, you remember we had a stalled bus. Probably a lot of people still, they don't want to remember that. But the traffic is a lot more normal. It slows northbound 101 at 280 on the way into the downtown exits. If you're driving from the Oakland area to San Francisco, it's backed up from just beyond the maze. And that commute is going to be, it's going to be very typical for this time of the morning. Let's talk about Highway 4. That's also looking very slow from Summersville Road over to the Willow Pass grade, but 242 is clear and 680 is slow from Concord to Walnut Creek. Now it's almost 7:19. Let's talk about today's weather. There's a change coming.
Sal, periodically, Cal chemistry professors win the Nobel Prize.
My goodness. Chemistry, physics.
Periodically.
I'm
going to keep my eye on you.
Very good, Steve.
Thank you.
I like
Every
that.
chemistry professor
It
goes,
took
those
me
are
a
the
minute,
oldest jokes in the
sorry.
book.
Took
But
me
thank you.
periodically. I like what you did there.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. All right. Congrats. Santa Rosa, what about it? Napa, Concord, Livermore. 91 yesterday. I know Clayton was 92 degrees. I think Cloverdale was 92. San Rafael 90. San Jose 86. Atherton, San Mateo, and Redwood City were all 84. And Oakland dropped 78. The city was 73 because right there. They had an offshore breeze till about 10:45, 11, hit 73, and then just like that, it reversed itself and the fog came in. Always a tricky forecast for the city in this kind of a pattern, but not today. Everyone's dropping. Santa Rosa, Oakland, Livermore, and San Jose, 72, 70, 76, and 74. Went 66 in the city, although it's already 60. The south wind is making for really mild conditions. Santa Clara Valley, also on the coast, Santa Cruz, all the way up to Half Moon Bay. 99, the record high, 1996. Half-inch of rain fell on the state in 1904. And there it is, south wind or a west-southwest. Yesterday it was offshore. Today it's more onshore. There's Travis. There, I knew it'd get there. 23 west-southwest now to 29. There's your delta wind. Oakland with a west-southwest breeze. Some areas nothing, but others are starting to pick up. 50, 60, 63, Half Moon Bay, which I believe is the warmest on this panel. Berkeley is 62. Yep, it is. Don't see that all the time, but in this kind of a pattern, you do. 30s up in the mountains and 30s just about everywhere. Mount Shasta, Alturas, Winnemucca, though, at 44. Ely at 33, and so is Elko, and 37 in Reno. System dropping down out of the Gulf of Alaska is absorbing the low, which has been off our coast for the last couple of days. Looks like late Friday, early Saturday. I think we'll get a little bit of rain about Marin County, San Pablo Bay North. Next Tuesday, though, looks like a pretty good system for us. And all eyes' attention now will be on Arizona and New Mexico as the remains of Category 1 Hurricane Priscilla start to move in, and it looks like that could be a big, big rain producer for them. For the cool and you, we'll get some sun here, but it's going to be cooler. The onshore breeze is kicking in, mix of low cloud sun, cooler for all, 60s, 70s. In fact, for the next 7 to 8, maybe 9 days, I would expect 60s, 70s, some rain Friday, and again, looks like late Monday, Tuesday.
Steve, thank you. Around the world, people are marking 2 years since the start of the Israel-Hamas war with candlelight vigils and protests. How the Bay Area took action on that somber anniversary. Welcome back to Mornings on 2. A gorgeous look here. We have a camera eye up atop Sutro Tower, and it's looking east. We see a lot of clouds up in the sky, a little bit of golden sun trying to break through. Steve has been guiding us through this week. We had 2 very warm days, yesterday and the day before, and now that pattern shift should be evident to you when you first step outside. We'll bring Steve back in just a little bit for some more changes as we look toward the weekend. This morning, efforts continue to work out a ceasefire to end the war between Israel and Hamas 2 years after it started. Demonstrations continue around the world, with protesters across Latin America and Europe expressing anger over the rising Palestinian death toll in Gaza. In France, a European Union official cited a dangerous rise in anti-Semitism as the war rages on.
There's nothing wrong with criticizing the actions of any government, but there is everything wrong with blaming Jews here in Europe for the actions of the government of Israel.
U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are in Egypt this morning as negotiations there continue. Part of the proposed peace plan would include a ceasefire and the freeing of any remaining hostages.
Our time now 7:25. Yesterday in Los Angeles, dueling demonstrations on the UCLA campus about the war in Gaza. And here in the Bay Area, there were several ceremonies remembering the victims of the war. In Healdsburg, people gathered to remember the people killed in that initial attack October 7th. 2 years ago. About 1,200 Israelis were killed on that first day. And the Palestinian Health Ministry, as well as the World Health Organization, say since then, more than 67,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed in the war.
I'd like to think that when it comes to our city, Oakland is on the move, and we are moving forward.
That's Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee delivering her first State of the City address to tell you what the numbers say about the recovery of Oakland.
So school lunch used to be like greasy pizza, mushy green beans, all that stuff. But now one initiative is bringing farm-to-table style dining to a South Bay middle school. What else students there are getting that's meant to connect them to the source of their food?
Good morning. Bart says things have been improving in the past few months. We have details of Bart's latest ridership numbers and what officials say about the success of its new tap and ride payment option. And this week, communities across the country are encouraging students to walk or ride a bike to school. These are live pictures we're looking at. We're in San Francisco, where one Bay Area school district is hosting a special event ahead of the school day.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Well, good morning. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to Mornings on 2. I'm Dave Clark.
I'm Garcia Micaelian. It is Wednesday, October 8th. Steve Paulson, no more AC from here on out, right?
Not for the next week or so.
Okay.
Plus, we're getting really, long in the tooth here on the season. We can still get warm end of October, but it gets dark now about 6:45, 6:30. But we had 90s yesterday, not today. Not an angry sky, but definitely a changing sky. Oh, look at that. We do have a huge fog bank that has returned. Yesterday, the bases were just way too shallow. Not today. 50s and 60s on the temps, mainly cloudy. There's a lot of low clouds in place. Yesterday, right by the Caldecott, it was 73 degrees and 25% humidity. Now it's 56, 100%, and that wind turned from northeast to south, south 4 gusting to 12. So Santa Rosa, Oakland, Livermore, and San Jose, arrows are all down. 72, 70, 76, and 74 on the forecast highs. The upper low coming out of the Gulf of Alaska is absorbing that low that's been off our coast the last couple of days. That's increasing the onshore breeze and also the low cloud deck. Looks like some rain coming in. I think it's more likely Friday, but probably about San Pablo Bay North is the way it looks. And what could be the best system of the young season is on track for next Tuesday is the way it looks. For the cool and you, no doubt, big fog bank returns, onshore breeze. Travis is now gusting up to 29. That'll do it. And temperatures are on their way down, 60s now and 70s, and they're going to be here for a while. All right, Sal is here at 7:31. Anything new to get to or just the usual?
Well, the usual, and the usual is the slowing on Highway 4 and 680 and 242. Those viewers are probably very familiar with it. Highway 4 slows from now Love Ridge over to Willow Pass, and 242 is a little bit slow approaching with 680. That's all pretty typical. There's slowing in Richmond getting to Berkeley, and when you get to the Bay Bridge, it is backed up from just before the maze. It's about a 25 to 30 minute delay. San Mateo Bridge is busier now as you drive over to the peninsula, and the South Bay commute not to be forgotten about, because all these freeways are slow as you drive through. We're going to dive into that a little bit more detail in just a few minutes. But now at 7:32, let's get right back to the headlines.
Thank you, Sal. Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee delivered her first State of the City address since taking office in May.
Today, I am proud to report that, yes, Oakland is cleaner and safer and open for business.
Mayor Lee pointed to some of the early successes in her time in office, including those tied to her 100-day plan focused on public safety and clean streets. The mayor said there were double-digit drops in crime compared to last year, including fewer robberies and fewer stolen cars. Councilmember Noel Gallo, who represents part of East Oakland, including the Fruitvale District, says there's a different reality in his area and called for a greater law enforcement presence.
Because in my area in East Oakland, they're not going down. Down my street, they're not going down. I would like to see the California Highway Patrol continue to be more engaged in a city like Oakland.
Mayor Lee also said Oakland is better prepared to respond to fires and other emergencies because all fire stations are now open and fully staffed. She also noted the city has cleared about 30 tons of trash from areas around schools and 30 miles of streets.
Our time now 7:33. New this morning, BART says its new modernized fare payment system is making it a lot easier for riders to get on BART trains around the Bay Area. It's called Tap and Ride. It allows commuters to use their contactless credit or debit card or a mobile wallet right there at the fare gate. In its first month of use, the new system has already accounted for more than 6% of all trips on BART. BART says the rapid adoption of it translated to almost 70,000 unique bank cards being tapped to pay for fares in the first month alone. Well, it is Walk and Roll to School week in San Francisco, and students there are encouraged and urged to get outside this morning, get active on their way to school. The city's been putting some extra focus, too, on traffic safety near schools. KTVU's Amanda Quintana is in San Francisco to tell us more about the progress that's been made. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning. We are walking and we are rolling. That is what this event is about. So we've got kids right here in front of me. They've got their crossing guards. They are getting ready to cross the street to head to school. This is an event that helps promote healthy and safe ways to get to school. You could see students and families here together. They have these really cool capes that they just got, all about the Vision Zero SF program. Of course, trying to make it safer for them to walk in the neighborhood. They also got reflective vests when they came to this event and straps for their backpacks. So it's really all about safety. So now they're all heading to school. They've got some signs here. I love walking. I love rolling. It's a really, really cute event. So with them are leaders with SFMTA, leaders with the school district. They are all heading to school. Leaders with Walk SF as well. So they're calling this a walking school bus. There are also bike trains and family rides happening all over the city today as well. One of the students here was practicing his big speech about safe walks to school. That's Steven. He says he usually gets to go in a car to school, but today he gets to ride his scooter.
That always goes with me. He parks my playground. I like riding my bike and scooter. Other students can ride the bikes because it's fun. You got to wear a safety vest. If someone doesn't have a scooter or bike, they can still walk.
Now, what's great is SFMTA says that they have already hit their 2030 goal of reducing school by half. There have been 0 school-related crashes in the last 2 school years. Now, according to Walk SF, every day on average, at least 3 people walking are hit by cars in San Francisco. Speed is a leading factor in serious injury and death. So earlier this year, San Francisco was the first city in the state to introduce new speeding cameras as part of a 5-year pilot program. 33 new cameras, 8 of them around schools. They started sending out warnings at first, but now they're sending out automated citations ranging from $50 to $500. Now, when school started, SFMTA told us that those cameras are working. In areas where they have those speeding cameras, they're seeing a 30% reduction in speeds there. So making the streets safer for kids, these kids heading to school, but we are going to meet them there where they're going to have really a celebration about walking to school, rolling to school, biking to school, all of that. So we'll bring you more on that later. Live in San Francisco, Amanda Quintana, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Amanda, thank you. A new state law is targeting the sale of stolen goods on San Francisco streets. State Senator Scott Wiener and Mayor Daniel Lurie joined police and community groups to celebrate the new legislation signed by the governor. The bill authored by Senator Wiener allows San Francisco to combat the sale of stolen goods through targeted intervention by law enforcement. The law requires permits or proof of purchase for the sale of merchandise suspected to be obtained through retail theft.
What SB 276 will do, and again, thank you to the governor for signing it, will give the city of San Francisco, the mayor, the board of supervisors, San Francisco Police Department an additional tool to hold accountable and to address this issue and to put a stop to the sale of stolen goods on our streets.
Under the new law, vendors who sell without a permit or proof of purchase can receive citations for the first 2 violations. On the 3rd offense, the violation can be punishable with a misdemeanor and up to 6 months in jail.
Our time now 7:38. A middle school in San Jose is redefining school lunch with a new initiative led by students for farm-to-table school lunch. Now, students at Quimby Oak Middle School are using a high-tech hydroponic system to grow hyper-local and fresh produce like lettuce and microgreens in what the staff calls the salad machine. The food becomes part of school lunches. Teachers say the program encourages healthy eating, and it also teaches important lessons in conservation and sustainability.
They come in and they're so excited. Ms. Doan, I already watered the seedlings, and when can we put the rock wool into the hydroponic system?
When they learn conservation, when they learn utilization of water and so forth to grow food, that is really, really important for them to look at long-term sustainability and to be gentle and kind to our planet.
And Quimby Oak is one of more than a dozen schools in the Evergreen District with the program, which the school district hopes to expand to all 16 schools by the end of the school year.
All right, let's get out the door here so we can have that school lunch later. 7:40. Sal, what are you watching in the traffic center?
All right, right now, I promised we would stop and look at the South Bay and be a little bit more, what is it? All right, a little bit more detailed. And northbound 85, right near De Anza, there's a crash there, and that's been there for a little bit. It's not injuries, but it's just causing slowdowns here that you get into the Cupertino area. 85 and 280 are going to be slow now. That's just slightly longer than normal for 85, and some people may be using 280 instead. So we're going to keep checking on that. Let's talk about the San Mateo Bridge. That bridge is also busier now. This is kind of like the peak of the bridge commute, but a decent alternate would be the Dumbarton Bridge, which is a little bit better if you're choosing between the two. Most people don't choose between the San Mateo and the toll plaza, however, or the Bay Bridge toll plaza. However, today they're about the same. Yesterday, you remember, we had problems in San Francisco. Today, fortunately, knock on wood, it's going to stay the way it is, and that would be a normal-ish commute. 7:41. Let's talk to Steve about today's weather.
How's the Dumbo?
Dumbo's okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yesterday, look at these temps because we may not see them again for a while. There's no hint of these returning anytime soon. Still October, so it could happen, but well, you get towards the end of October, and without a strong offshore wind, it's hard to get to these. 91, Santa Rosa, Napa 91, Concord 91, Livermore 91. I know Clayton was 92 and Cloverdale 92. San Rafael 90, San Jose 86, Atherton, San Mateo, Redwood City all 84, and Oakland was 78 degrees. The city was 73, and they were on their way to about 78, 80, and then this happened. The fog came roaring back, even though the bases were right down on the deck. That's all it takes to turn that wind around. Santa Rosa, Oakland, Livermore, San Jose, down we go. I've seen in the past Santa Rosa drop 30 degrees. I remember a long time ago it dropped from, I think it was 100 to 70. So it can happen fast in Santa Rosa, especially when you get this big of a fog bank. Livermore from 91 to 76, and San Jose from 86 to 74. 73 yesterday in the city, going 66. I mean, they're already 60, and with a south wind, it wouldn't take much. 71.55 is normal. 99, the record on this date for 1996, and 0.54 fell in 1904. Instead of an east wind, it is now south-southwest. But out to Travis we go, and there it is. Fairfield, 23, west-southwest, gusting to almost 30. Oakland has an onshore breeze. Most locations now are trending with that onshore. 50s, 60s, the warmest temp here is Half Moon Bay at 63. Don't see that all the time, but in this kind of a pattern, you can. And kind of interesting. 30s on the temps here. Truckee, South Lake Tahoe, 32 in Mammoth. A lot of 30s, even Mount Shasta and Alturas in there. System dropping down from the Gulf of Alaska is absorbing the low that's been off our coast. And it looks like then when the system arrives, I think it's more likely late Thursday, Friday. San Pablo Bay North looks to get some rain, and a much better system looks to be on track for late Monday, Tuesday. Any travel plans to Arizona or New Mexico starting Friday into the weekend? The remains of Hurricane Priscilla is going to give a lot of rain. Mostly Arizona and New Mexico is the way it looks. Could be some in the Southern California desert, but they will have a ton of rain in Arizona. Big fog bank returns. Onshore breeze kicks in. Mix of sun, low clouds, but a much cooler pattern. 60s now and 70s, and these temps are going to stick around for a while, if not get a little cooler.
All right, Steve, time 7:43. As we just mentioned, today is Walk and Roll to School Week in San Francisco. Students are encouraged, get outdoors, get active on their way to school.
So we want to hear from you. How does your family get to school? And if you're out of school, how did you get to school?
Yeah.
I walked. Did you walk?
We didn't have cars back then.
Oh, come on.
So.
You took the horse and buggy. That's what Steve Paulson would say.
Yeah,
all right, let's take a look at these numbers. Good. 2/3 of you say you walked to school. No votes yet for zero, so no scooters or bikes. You walked, Steve Paulson did walk.
Way.
Good.
A long way.
Uphill both ways or just one
Not
way?
uphill. It was just a long way.
Yeah.
This is such a fun topic. We love that you're responding. About 25% of you now say you roll, 25% drive. The numbers are shifting as we're talking. Let us know what you do or don't do. And again, if you don't have children in school, tell us how you used to get to school. We'll watch these numbers change.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
So look, we're going to go to break, and we'll take one more look at that poll. You can scan the QR code in the top right corner of the screen. It'll take you to our poll. Welcome back to Mornings on 2 at 747. New this morning, James Comey, the former FBI director, pleaded not guilty this morning to charges at his court arraignment. Now, Comey appeared in a federal court in Washington, D.C. He asked for a jury trial, which has now been scheduled for January 5th. Comey is facing one count of making false statements and one count of obstruction of justice. They're connected to his 2020 testimony in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee about the Trump-Russia investigation. Comey says the charges are a result of him standing up to President Trump.
A peek at today's opening bell that started the trading day on Wall Street. Gold prices this morning are well above $4,000 an ounce. Economists say investors are turning to reliable metals as a safe haven due to uncertainties during the government shutdown. Gold hit $4,000 for the first time just yesterday. Let's swing out to those numbers, and we see some green, not a lot of gold. Dow is up by just more than 100 points right now after a very brief dip at the very start. The S&P is up by close to 0.5%. NASDAQ is up by almost 2/3 of 1%. The Federal Department of Energy is planning to cut billions of dollars in federal grants. This could put key U.S. manufacturing projects at risk. General Motors is facing the cut of a $500 million grants intended to retool the Michigan plant there for new electrified vehicles. The carmaker says it could significantly disrupt the company's timeline and threaten American auto jobs. Industry leaders warn that canceling the awards will cripple U.S. innovation and concede technological ground to foreign rivals. rivals.
Our time is now 7:49. California is awarding more than $38 million in funding to programs that give children access to outdoor educational opportunities. The money will support more than 100 programs around the state through the Youth Community Access Program. It'll fund field trips, gardening programs, workforce development opportunities, and a lot more. Governor Newsom says it's important to fund these programs as the Trump administration moves to defund public lands and the national park system.
A police officer in Oklahoma is going viral for what he did after responding to a noise complaint at a house party. This all started when someone called complaining that their neighbors were playing loud music at all hours. It was the second time police responded, so officers issued a citation. Then one of them showed off his dance moves. The police department put this video on social media and said the people in the home appreciated the officer's style and agreed to turn down the music. This video, by the way, has more than 1 million views.
I can believe that. All right, time is 7:50. Let's see what Sal is viewing right now in our commute. How's it look out there?
It looks okay. My friends in the South Bay are taking it on the chin a little bit this morning. It's slow almost everywhere. We had a couple of minor crashes that made it slower. Let's start there with the South Bay commute. You can see 85, 280, and 101 are slow. It's not by far not the worst I've seen, but it's not easy either this morning. You look at the San Mateo Bridge, that traffic is slower. Dumbarton Bridge is better, and if you're driving to the Bay Bridge toll plaza, it is backed up beyond the maze. The weather's changing, and let's bring in Mr. Steve Paulson.
It is changing rapidly here. I'm not only looking at today, but also Friday, Saturday, and next Tuesday looks like our first big system of the season. If everything comes in as advertised, it would be a whopper for October if it makes it. 6 days away, though. But anyway, weather people can't help themselves. They always want to look down the weather road. 50s, 60s, cooler here. Big fog bank making a pretty good push. 20s and 30s up in the mountains, now 30s. Truckee, South Lake Tahoe, even Minden's in there. 41 for Carson City and Reno, Nevada. The low that's been off our coast is getting absorbed by that system dropping down from the Gulf of Alaska. First of what could be 2, maybe 3 systems. I think we'll get some rain out of this system. I'm leaning more towards Friday instead of Thursday, about San Pablo Bay North. There will be drizzle, no doubt about it, as this next system approaches. Any travel plans, maybe Southern California desert, but more likely Arizona into New Mexico. The remains of Hurricane Priscilla are going to paint a really wet scenario there, starting probably around Friday into the weekend for much of Arizona and New Mexico, and then under the Four Corners. So just a heads up if you're going down there. For the cool and you, though, today, big fog bank returns, onshore breeze kicking in, mix of low clouds and sun, but it'll be cooler for all, 60s, 70s. We can say goodbye to upper 80s and 90s for a while. I don't see that coming back anytime soon, probably well into next week. Weekend should be okay before big changes Monday night, Tuesday, Dave.
All right, Steve, thank you. Time now, 7:52. President Trump's overhaul of the H-1B visa program, not just hitting the tech and finance industries. Colleges warn this could ripple through classrooms. Up next at 8 o'clock, the education fallout for students and teachers in America's elite universities. And despite the federal government shutdown, Fleet Week is taking off with few changes. How San Francisco's celebrating without the help of federal and military support. Welcome back to Mornings on 2. It's now 7:55. The government shutdown is forcing changes to San Francisco's Fleet Week. A full-scale earthquake drill took place along the Embarcadero, but there was no federal and military support. The drill focused on how San Francisco would keep communication lines open and supplies moving if there was a devastating 7.8 magnitude earthquake. Now, crews from the Department of Emergency Management, fire, the police joined state and private partners, including PG&E and AT&T. They tested how different systems talk to each other when normal communication networks go down. Officials say the drill went pretty smooth despite the absence of federal partners.
We're disappointed that our federal partners can't be here, but at the same time, we have a really great crew. We have our partners here that would be first to respond during an emergency and the last to leave. So I feel like our key stakeholders are here today.
Now, those crews have been running these emergency drills since 2011. Well, a favorite East Bay burger chain just opened a restaurant on Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. Nation's Giant Hamburgers cut the ribbon on the new restaurant yesterday afternoon. The chain was founded in San Pablo in 1952. Now, it's still known for its big burgers, the hearty breakfast, and those fresh baked pies. The co-founder of Nation says that opening an outlet on Fisherman's Wharf is a dream come true.
Can we be in San Francisco Bay Area without being in San Francisco? So it's tremendous to be here, and I appreciate seeing everybody, and we're really excited.
City officials say Fisherman's Wharf is seeing a renaissance with more restaurants opening and the addition of the Sky Star Ferris wheel. There are also events planned for Fleet Week and a redesign of the wharf that's in the works. California is now the third state in the country to designate Diwali an official holiday. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the bill adding the international Hindu celebration known as the Festival of Lights to California's official holiday list. South Bay Assemblymember Ash Kaura, who co-authored the bill, called it a major moment for South Asian families. Diwali falls on October 20th this year. Pennsylvania and Connecticut also celebrate that special holiday. Well, a group of Asian community members in San Francisco are teaming up to create the next generation of leaders. The group launched the Asian Pacific Islander Building Community Leaders Program. It'll connect aspiring Asian leaders in the city with experienced and seasoned ones, with a focus on running for political office. Now, the program is starting with 15 slots, with plans to expand in the future. The deadline to apply is October 19th. Well, today, state regulators are voting on a proposal aimed at making publicly funded electric chargers more dependable. The California Energy Commission is considering rules that would require most publicly funded EV chargers be functional at least 97% of the time. Now, this is part of a years-long push to help ease the concerns about potential EV buyers.
With ballots arriving in mailboxes for Proposition 50 special election, we're now hearing from a lawmaker at risk of losing his seat, why state Republicans argue rural areas could take a hit if the measure to redraw congressional districts passes. And a new six-figure visa fee could soon reshape who is teaching in America's elite universities, why schools like Stanford could feel the impact of President Trump's latest move. And UC Berkeley's Nobel streak continues as another professor takes home one of science's highest honors, the groundbreaking research putting him on the world stage as the Bay Area continues its streak of Nobel Prizes.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Welcome to Mornings on 2, a live look outside our doors. You can see the San Francisco skyline there on the left, and a lot of clouds and fog hovering over the bay. Good morning and welcome to Mornings on 2. I'm Allie Rasmus.
Good morning. I'm Garcia Michaeli. On Wednesday, October 8th, the weather is changing. We can see it because at this time, Steve Paulson, we had sunshine behind us yesterday.
We did, and most everyone got in on some pretty warm temps, although the city dropped pretty fast yesterday. But today, everyone drops. Don't see any upper 80s or 90s for a while. There's a big fog bank out there. So 60s coast, 60s, 70s coast and bay. and now 70s inland, and it's going to be this way for a while. A low cloud deck, 50s, 60s on the temps, under cloudy to mostly cloudy skies. Santa Rosa, Oakland, Livermore, San Jose, all down. 72, 70, 76, 74. Sometimes, you know, it can drop even more than that, but I kind of eased into it. That low that's been off our coast is getting drawn up by that system coming down off of Vancouver and Seattle, and that's what's giving us the onshore breeze, the bigger fog bank, and I think eventually some rain. Probably not until late Thursday, Friday, and then again next Tuesday is the way it's looking here. For the cool and you, though, big fog bank, some sun out there today, but it'll be cooler for all as that onshore wind kicks in. 60s now and 70s. All right, Sal is here, and he begins this time with
the Bay Bridge. Just want to, you know, reset sort of and look what take a look what it looks like here at 8:01. It is backed up. It's not as slow as it was yesterday when we had trouble in San Francisco. The San Mateo Bridge, though, doesn't look great right now. That has slowed down. It could be because of some new stalled vehicle. Last time I checked, we didn't have anything on the actual bridge, but sometimes these things are just maybe even a slow-moving vehicle can affect that bridge. And you can see the South Bay, all the freeways getting to Sunnyvale, Cupertino, and Mountain View are very slow. 8:02, let's get back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. Voting in California is underway for Proposition 50. If approved, the measure would temporarily redraw several congressional districts in favor of Democrats. It's in response to redistricting in Texas to favor Republicans. State Republicans argue rural industries such as timber or paper could take a hit if Prop 50 passes. Several far northern counties of California would end up being merged into districts that reach all the way down to the North Bay. The current Republican congressman who represents some of that part of the state says people living in rural areas won't be well represented.
So you're going to have folks in Sausalito tied to folks in, Cedarville, California, which probably nobody knows where that is, except I do. If you want paper, if you want timber, if you want any of these products, a rural person probably had to get his hands dirty. Mine are hurt dirty from farming right now.
Modoc County at the far northeastern corner of California on the boundary with Nevada and Oregon is extremely rural, doesn't even have a single stoplight. Representative LaMalfa says lumping it in with Sausalito doesn't make sense. If Prop 50 passes, the new maps will be used through the 2030 elections.
And under those proposed congressional maps in Prop 50, Congressman LaMalfa would lose conservative counties, including Shasta, Siskiyou, and Modoc, to District 2. Now, District 2 is currently represented by Jared Huffman. It spans the north coast from the Golden Gate Bridge all the way up to the Oregon state line.
Well, it looks like a big district and a diverse one, but fortunately, for the last 13 years, I've represented a really big and diverse district that has a lot of urban and rural areas that are very much like Shasta, Siskiyou, and Modoc counties. So it's not going to be all that different. It's just a little bigger.
Now, Huffman says he's confident he could represent an expanded district and says he supports Prop 50. Huffman also addressed the criticism about him being out of touch with some of his more rural constituents.
I've served with Doug for the last 13 years. He often sees them as sort of political fodder and things to fight about rather than to dig in and kind of talk through and try to solve. So I'm going to bring a very different approach to all of this. I accept climate science. I don't like pitting rural and urban areas against each other like we're people from different species or something.
If Prop 50 passes, the new district Huffman would represent is estimated to have a 25-point Democratic voter advantage. LaMalfa's district would flip from a 25-point Republican advantage to a 12-point Democratic edge.
Time is 8:04. It is day 8 of the federal government shutdown. There is no agreement in sight. The House is on recess this week. The Senate has now voted down the same proposal 5 times. The Republican bill would keep the government funded through mid-November at current levels. Democrats remain firm on wanting to add an extension for Affordable Care Act tax credits, which will expire at the end of the year. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is now suggesting the more than 750,000 federal workers currently furloughed may not receive back pay once the government reopens.
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay? Thank you.
The president's remarks echo a draft memo from the Office of Management and Budget, which would contradict a law signed by President Trump after the last shutdown in 2019. That law requires federal workers receive back pay during any funding lapse.
A new report says many of the people performing dangerous remediation work after the Southern California wildfires are immigrant workers who are now facing new threats. The LA Times reports day laborers face health risks from clearing debris that contains heavy metals and other toxins after the Eaton fire and Palisades fire. Many workers report feeling that the fear of immigration enforcement has become a more immediate threat than on-the-job toxic materials. Some now say they're hesitant to go to job sites for fears that ICE may show up.
Happening today in Chicago, National Guard troops from Texas have arrived at a Chicago Army base and may soon patrol the streets. Lawsuits have already been filed by the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois aimed at blocking the National Guard from coming in. A court hearing is set for tomorrow. A similar lawsuit in Oregon blocked Guard deployments in Portland. President Trump is threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, which could allow him to get around court rulings on the National Guard deployments.
You have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up.
Donald Trump is using our service members as political props and as pawns in his illegal effort to militarize our nation's cities.
Previously, federal courts have ruled that President Trump's use of the National Guard as law enforcement in Los Angeles violated federal law. A judge blocked the White House from using the National Guard to make arrests or conduct searches or patrols. The Trump administration appealed that ruling.
A growing number of university presidents are raising concerns about the educational impact of a new H-1B visa fee. Higher education leaders warn that the $100,000 fee imposed by the Trump administration will hurt schools that depend on foreign workers to fill critical teaching roles. They say the change could restrict their ability to hire the best candidates and would make institutions less competitive. Stanford University is among the universities that have had the most H-1B visas approved in recent years. The White House argues, though, that the visa program lets employers sideline American workers and professors and suppress their wages.
New this morning, another UC Berkeley professor has won the Nobel Prize, this time for chemistry. Omar Yaghi was awarded the prize this morning, along with two other scientists, for their work in developing a new type of molecular architecture. The Nobel Committee says the discovery led to huge breakthroughs in chemistry. Yaghi was able to use the new molecular architecture to create a microwave-sized water harvester that can capture water from the air, even in desert environments. Yaghi talked about the accomplishment and how science can bring the world together.
Science is a language that allows all people to talk to each other. That's one of the few languages where we all understand chemical formulas, whether we're Japanese, Australians, Koreans, Chinese, or American. A chemical formula is universal.
UC Berkeley says Yaghi is the 28th faculty member to win the Nobel Prize, the 5th winner in the past 5 years.
SpaceX and United Launch Alliance just received contracts for high-priority national security missions for next year. The U.S. Space Force gave Elon Musk's SpaceX more than $700 million for 5 of the 7 missions. The missions include installing satellites to support the military's communications network. Space Force anticipates a total of 54 launches in the program in the coming years.
All right, it's 8:09, and we've been looking at the East Bay commutes, and I want to start with Highway 24 in Lafayette. You can see that this commute is moderate. It's cloudy there, just as an aside, but it's a moderate commute. Highway 4 is still slow, and so is 680 through Concord and Walnut Creek. Bay Bridge backed up to the maze, and the metering lights are on. This has turned out to be a pretty typical commute. All the slowdowns are there where you might expect. We're seeing some improvement on the San Mateo Bridge, but the South Bay commute is still very loaded up right now. This is the prime time for that South Bay commute. 8:09, let's go back to the desk.
From English only to a Univision ally, the rare defense of a Spanish-language giant, what is prompting speculation about a shift in President Trump's tone. Plus,
Warrior star Stephen Curry and celebrity chef Michael Mina arrive in San Francisco style. Their new venture in Union Square, and how the mayor says it's fueling a positive trend in that part of the city.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
(8:13), some of the stories we're following. Former FBI Director James Comey pleaded not guilty to charges this morning in his arraignment in Washington, D.C. federal court. He requested a jury trial during the hearing, which has been set for January 5th. Comey is facing one count of making false statements and one count of obstruction of justice connected to his 2020 Senate testimony regarding the Trump-Russia investigation. Comey says the charges are the result of him standing up to President Trump.
Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers across Northern California preparing for a strike next week. As many as 30,000 workers could hit the picket lines starting Monday. Union leaders say the 5-day strike is expected to affect Kaiser's facilities in Oakland, San Francisco, Walnut Creek, and San Jose. Kaiser says it's negotiating with the union and is disappointed by the strike announcement.
A Livermore man who was deported to Mexico may soon return to his family in the East Bay. Miguel Lopez was detained in May by immigration agents when he reported for a scheduled check-in in San Francisco. Now, a federal judge says she'll issue an order by the next court hearing scheduled for the end of this month. His attorney says he is hopeful Lopez will be allowed back into the country.
President Donald Trump is defending Spanish-language TV news station Univision in a dispute with Google. Trump pressured Google-owned YouTube TV to restore access to Univision on the streaming platform. It's an apparent reversal for the president, who has previously sued Univision and whose campaign once called it a, quote, Democratic mouthpiece. But now the president says the channel is an important outlet that will allow him to reach out to Hispanic voters.
Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee delivered her first State of the City address since taking office in May.
today I am proud to report that yes, Oakland is cleaner and safer and open for business.
Mayor Lee pointed to some early successes, including those tied to her 100-day plan focused on public safety and clean streets. The mayor said there were double-digit drops in crime rates compared to last year, including fewer robberies and fewer stolen cars. Councilmember Noel Gallo, who represents part of East Oakland, including the Fruitvale, says there's a different reality in his area and called for a greater law enforcement presence.
Because in my area in East Oakland, they're not going down. Down my street, they're not going down. I would like to see the California Highway Patrol continue to be more engaged in a city like Oakland.
Mayor Lee also said Oakland is better prepared to respond to fires and other emergencies because all fire stations are now open and fully staffed. She also noted the city has cleared about 30 tons of trash from areas around school and 30 miles of streets. Well, across the bay, Warrior star Stephen Curry is expanding his resume.
Yeah, Curry is teaming up with celebrity chef Michael Mina to open up 2 new businesses inside the Westin St. Francis Hotel in Union Square, and a lot of big names were on hand for that grand opening. One of the businesses is a relaunch of Mina's Steakhouse, Bourbon Steak. The celebrity chef is returning to the neighborhood where he first launched an award-winning restaurant decades ago.
Bourbon Steak is not just going to be a steakhouse, I promise you. We're going to make this such a special place for this city because this city deserves so much. This city is and always will be the best food city in the United States.
The new restaurant is opening up right alongside Curry's new bar, the 8th Rule. The reservations-only bar is meant to be an exclusive spot. It only has about 40 seats. The speakeasy-style space will showcase Curry's gentleman's cut bourbon.
We want to bring energy to the city. We want to bring community. We want to bring fun. We want to bring culture. That's what San Francisco is about. And obviously, we're starting this new year with the Warriors. We're starting a new, experience here all at the same time. So I'm happy to be here.
San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie joined the celebration. He talked about the city's efforts to attract more tourism and a sense of safety in Union Square. Mina's restaurant and Curry's Bourbon Bar will both open to the public this Friday.
Time is 8:17, and we have slow traffic out there, although today's a better day than yesterday. We have Highway 4. That traffic is improving finally, and 680 is taking a bunch of slowing. But again, this is all within the realm of normal. The Richmond Bridge approach is a little longer than I like to see it. Highway 24 is crowded. But again, these crowded commutes are nothing like we had yesterday when we had several crashes along the way. This is a look at the San Mateo Bridge, and that commute looks very good with no major problems. Traffic is moving well. It's better than it was at least a little while ago when we had some slow traffic on that bridge. And if you are driving on the Dumbarton Bridge, it looks okay. South Bay commute is still very slow. 8:18. Let's talk to Steve now.
Sal, big cool down after yesterday's 80s and 90s for most. The city about 11 noon, something, that wind turned and they dropped to 73 and Oakland dropped to 78. But everyone else said, what breeze? Santa Rosa was 91, Napa 91, Concord 91, Livermore 91, Clayton and Cloverdale were both 92. Maybe your backyard thermometer, your digital showed 92. Santa Fe was 90, San Jose 86. Kind of interesting. Redwood City, Atherton, and San Mateo are all 84. Oakland, though, 78 because they got a little bit of a breeze, and that did it. And there it was right there yesterday, even though the bases were really low. And when they're on the span or below, I mean, that's about as low as you can go. But today, the bases are much higher, just beginning to come in now, the visible satellite. It's made it all the way past Santa Rosa, San Jose. Pretty good push. That's a huge fog bank, and that's leading to a cooler forecast. Santa Rosa down to 72, 70 for Oakland, 76 Livermore, and 74 San Jose. The city will go 66, 60. Average is 71.55. The record 99 on the high side, 1996, 48 way back in 1895, and a half-inch of rain fell on the state back in 1904. Yesterday, the wind was offshore, at least in the morning, was this. It was going like this, like this. Not now. It has reversed itself. Now it's more south-southwest, not due west, but there it is. Travis, west-southwest to 20. Concord, west-southwest. Oakland, west-southwest. Nevada was a south wind. Napa Airport, kind of an outlier, but the trend is more west-southwest here. 63 Half Moon Bay is, I believe, still the warmest temp. How about that? The warmest temp here on the panel. Brentwood 62, a lot of 61s in there. Up in the mountains, 30s and now 40s, but had a couple of 20s there for a while. The system dropping out of the Gulf of Alaska, it's off Vancouver, Seattle, is absorbing the low that's been off our coast for a couple of days, and that's giving us the ramp up of the fog. System, I think, will give us some light rain. I'm thinking more likely Friday. A much bigger system looks to be on tap next Monday, Tuesday. And any travel plans down towards Southern California desert, more likely Arizona into New Mexico. The remains of Hurricane Priscilla, everything is saying it's going to take a direct dive right there and move towards Arizona, New Mexico. And if that's the case, they will get a lot of rain. Friday, Saturday is the way it looks. For the cool in you, big fog bank has returned. Onshore breeze kicking in, mix of low clouds and sun, but it'll be cooler for all. 60s, 70s, and I think, except for subtle day-to-day changes, we're going to see 60s and 70s well into next week, you guys.
Steve, thank you. 821, a win for renters. The new law that means they don't have to pay up for their own major appliances when they move in here in California. What landlords now have to provide. A new law in California will require landlords to put a working fridge and stove in all rental units. Previously, they were labeled amenities and thus not required. The law mandates each rental unit has a working fridge and stove, as well as hot and cold running water and weatherproofing. An analysis from the LA Times finds California has more apartments on the market without fridges than any other state. The new requirement applies to new leases starting January 1st of 2026.
A middle school in San Jose is redefining school lunch with a new student-led farm-to-table initiative. Students at Quimby Oak Middle School are using a cutting-edge hydroponic system to grow fresh produce like lettuce and microgreens. Staff affectionately refer to it as the salad machine. That food then becomes part of the school's lunches. Teachers say the program encourages healthy eating and teaches important lessons in conservation and sustainability.
They come in and they're so excited. Ms. Doan, I already watered the seedlings, and when can we put the rock wool into the hydroponic system?
When they learn conservation, when they learn utilization of water and so forth to grow food, that is really, really important for them to look at long-term sustainability and to be gentle and kind to our planet.
Quimby Oak is one of more than a dozen schools in the Evergreen District using that program. The district hopes to expand it to all 16 schools by the end of the academic year. Stanford football received a record $50 million gift from a former player who's a longtime donor. It is the largest individual donation for the football program itself, not for buildings or facilities. School officials say what they call the game-changing gift will help recruit top talent and elevate competition at the highest level. Stanford will honor philanthropist Bradford M. Freeman by naming the tunnel where players enter the stadium after him and a stadium gate as well. A battle is brewing over speech and political violence. Why a top Department of Justice official claims Governor Newsom's office put a target on her back. As 3 people hurt in Monday's crash of a medical helicopter in Sacramento fight for recovery, we're hearing from loved ones of a nurse who was on board. They described their first thoughts when they learned something was wrong.
I can't imagine being a military family now without our 2 incomes.
They're defending our country. Now their families are on the front lines of the government shutdown, while some service members are lining up at food banks just to get by. Then there's an extra focus on traffic safety around schools this morning. We'll go live to San Francisco with how transit leaders there are promoting safe ways to get to class.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Gassia Mikaelian. I'm Allie Rasmus. Today is Wednesday, October 8th, and as you have noted, there's some changes coming to us weather-wise. Steve Paulson keeping track of it all. A big change from just 24 hours ago.
That happened fast, as we like to say, right? I mean, no doubt. Yesterday, some fog came back in. It was too shallow to make much of an impact, but it did in San Francisco and in Oakland and on the coast. Today, it's for all. Low cloud deck is really ramped up. There's a pretty good fog bank out there, and most locations are cloudy to mostly cloudy. 50s, 60s on the temps here, and this is the beginning of a significant cool down, which probably will take us into at least a week, if not longer, is the way it looks. So get used to 60s and 70s. We're out of those upper 80s and 90s for a while, and that system swinging in is what's happening is the low that we've had here is getting drawn up by this system, so that's what's rushing in here to ramp up the fog bank. We're going to get some light rain out of this, some drizzle. Most of it looks to be about San Pablo Bay, Marin County north over the next few days into Friday, maybe Saturday as well. But some decent drizzle could make it Santa Cruz Mountains as well. Today is for the cool in you, though. Big fog bank returns. Onshore breeze already kicked in for many. Mix of low clouds, sun, but it'll be cooler for all. And temperatures 60s and 70s. All right, Sal is here. It's 8:30. South Bay, I saw a lot of red down there.
South Bay has a lot of red, and we're going to talk about that. That is probably the busiest commute. The East Bay commute's beginning to settle down. Highway 4 has improved. 680 is still pretty slow from Concord to Walnut Creek, and the commutes are still slow, but I can see improvement at some of these commutes. The South Bay, though, that's a different story. The San Mateo Bridge is not exactly South Bay, so that's kind of the middle of the bay. But Steve mentioned the South Bay. All of these commutes are loaded up. We've had a couple of crashes. Most of it is just that typical slow traffic. So if you want to time your commute, you either go before 6:30 or after, let's say, 9, and that's when you would probably go for a better commute. 8:31, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. Well, BART says its new modernized fare payment system is making it a lot easier for riders to take BART across the Bay Area. It's called Tap and Ride. It lets commuters quickly scan a credit, debit card, or mobile wallet at the fare gate. In its first month of use, the new system has already accounted for more than 7% of all trips on BART. And just in the past week, it grew to 10% of all users. BART says that translates to about 70,000 unique bank cards used to pay for fares. In the first month, the program was unveiled.
All right, it's Walk and Roll to School week in San Francisco. Students encouraged to get outside this morning and be active on their way to school.
Yes, San Francisco has been putting an extra focus on traffic safety near schools. KTVU's Amanda Quintana in San Francisco this morning to explain some of the early signs of progress they are touting. Amanda?
Yes, well, good morning. Walk and Roll to School is an event that tries to promote healthy and safe ways for kids to get to school. They are inside the classroom right now, but this morning we were with them as they walked from a local park here to school. They also had bikes and they had skateboards and they had scooters. They had lots of fun walking from the park here to school. They also had some yellow capes, which was very cute, so that people who are driving could see them easily. Leaders with SFMTA and the school district also walked along too. There were bike trains and family rides happening all over the city today. Now, what's great is SFMTA says that they already hit their 2030 goal of reducing school-related traffic collisions by half, because there have been 0 traffic-related collisions near schools in the last 2 years. Now, according to Walk SF, every day on average, at least 3 people walking are still hit by cars in San Francisco, and this is more than any other city in the state.
Kids are such an important reminder of why we need to make our streets really safe. And when I think about all these kiddos getting out today, they're a lot shorter. They're not as visible, right? And so the importance of our streets being designed and drivers going slow, making sure they can see kids at intersections is crucial.
Speed is the leading factor for serious injury and death. Earlier this year, San Francisco was the first city in the state to introduce new speeding cameras as part of a 5-year pilot program. 33 new cameras have been placed around San Francisco, with 8 of them near schools. This summer, they started by sending out warnings, but by August, they began sending out automated citations ranging from $50 to $500. Now, when school first started, SFMTA said in just those few weeks, it was about 7 or 8 weeks of using those cameras, they had seen a reduction of about 30% in those people speeding. But talking to people with SFMTA today, they said it's more like 70% now. So those cameras are really doing what they are there to do, and they feel like the streets of San Francisco are much safer now. Live in San Francisco, Amanda Quintana, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Amanda, thank you. We would love to hear from you now as we ask, how does your family get to school, or did, if you and your children are no longer going to class every day? We see almost half of you, 49%, say you walked or you walk now. We see 11% say roll, 40% say drive. You can weigh in, make those numbers change. Head on out to ktvu.com/vote. Time is 8:35. Some military families are turning to help to put food on the table as the government shutdown continues. Members of the military must report for duty, and they're among the hundreds of thousands of federal workers who are not getting a paycheck during the shutdown. By some estimates, 1/4 of all military members are struggling to pay for food. The Armed Services YMCA has seen an increase in the number of military families applying for food assistance. The next paycheck for members of the military would be October 15th, were it not for the government shutdown.
I can't imagine being a military family now without our two incomes. So for me, like, my heart breaks for these younger families that have no idea what to expect. If this does continue into even November, we will have to make decisions for our kids' baseball. Hey kids, you may not get to play your baseball tournament this weekend because mommy and daddy need to use that money to go towards the mortgage or whatever it is.
The last paycheck for members of the military was back on October 1st, the first day of the government shutdown.
The government shutdown is forcing some big changes for San Francisco's Fleet Week. A full-scale earthquake drill happened along the Embarcadero, but without federal and military support. The drill focused on how San Francisco would keep communication lines open and supplies moving in the event of a devastating 7.8 earthquake. And workers with San Francisco Department of Emergency Management, Fire and Police joined state and private workers from PG&E and AT&T to practice that emergency response. They tested different backup communication systems they could use when the usual channels go out in an emergency. Officials say the drill went smoothly despite the absence of federal partners.
Disappointed that our federal partners can't be here, but at the same time, we have a really great crew. We have our partners here that would be first to respond during an emergency and the last to leave. So I feel like our key stakeholders are here today.
Local and state emergency departments have been running these emergency drills since 2011. This morning, efforts continue to negotiate a ceasefire deal to end the war between Israel and Hamas 2 years after it began. Demonstrations continue around the world, meanwhile, with protesters across Latin America and Europe expressing anger over the rising Palestinian death toll in Gaza. In France, a European Union official cited a dangerous rise in anti-Semitism as the war goes on.
There's nothing wrong with criticizing the actions of any government. But there is everything wrong with blaming Jews here in Europe for the actions of the government of Israel.
U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are in Egypt this morning to continue negotiations. Part of the proposed peace plan would include a ceasefire and the freeing of any remaining hostages.
On the anniversary, dueling demonstrations on UCLA's campus yesterday, and here in the Bay, there were several ceremonies remembering the victims of the war. In Healdsburg, there was a gathering for the people killed in the initial October 7th attack. About 1,200 Israelis were killed that first day. The Palestinian Health Ministry and World Health Organization say since then, more than 67,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed.
There's been terrible suffering on both sides of this war. And even in my remarks here tonight, I'm going to be acknowledging the civilian casualties on the Gaza side that themselves were victims of Hamas in putting them essentially as human shields.
It's a fragile moment, but there's a lot of hope. And I think that in times like these, we look at a tragedy and the potential of new life coming together. We're very, very hopeful this week.
Hamas negotiators say they want guarantees that Israel will end the war on Gaza and withdraw from Palestinian territory in line with the U.S. peace plan. In return, Hamas says it will release hostages in stages aligned with the withdrawal.
New this morning, James Comey, the former FBI director, pleaded not guilty to charges at his court arraignment. Comey appeared in federal court in Washington, D.C., and he asked for a jury trial, which has been set for January 5th. Comey is facing one count of making false statements, one count of obstruction of justice. They're connected to his 2020 testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee about the Trump-Russia investigation back then. Comey says the charges are a result of him standing up to President Trump. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi defended the indictment against Comey during a fiery hearing with senators. It was her first Senate hearing as Attorney General. Democratic senators grilled her about President Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, the January 6th investigation, and the legality of deploying National Guard to cities run by Democratic mayors.
You consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
Why do you want to keep this secret?
I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will. I don't know the answer, Senator.
Yet you do know the answer to that.
Don't call me a liar.
Earlier this week, nearly 300 former DOJ employees released a letter describing Bondi's leadership as, quote, appalling. Bondi has not commented on that letter. California adds an official holiday, why state leaders are calling the move a significant moment for South Asian families.
.43 breaking news here out of Los Angeles. The LA Times is reporting an arrest has been made in the deadly Palisades fire at the beginning of the year. That fire burned thousands of homes and killed a dozen people in January. The ATF is expected to make the announcement of an arrest along with the cause of the fire coming up in minutes here at 9 o'clock. LA Times reports a leading theory is that the Palisades fire was a rekindling of a fire that had started in the same area on New Year's Day. Firefighters thought they'd put the first fire out, but 6 days later, the Palisades fire grew out of the same area. A team from the ATF was seen investigating that area 1 week after the fire started. I'll note we will have that news conference for you live from Los Angeles once it starts, coming up at 9.
We're also following breaking news in Oakland, where the police chief has just resigned from his position. In a statement, Floyd Mitchell said he consulted with colleagues and loved ones and decided to step down on December 5th. Mitchell was hired about 18 months ago from Lubbock, Texas. He was hired by Mayor Sheng Tao before she was recalled by voters. In the statement he sent to the department, Mitchell says he's proud of what they've accomplished and is confident that the department will continue to thrive.
Other top stories we're following this morning. National Guard troops from Texas are now at an Army base in Chicago and may start patrolling the streets as soon as today. Lawsuits have already been filed by the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois aimed at stopping the National Guard from moving in. A court hearing is set for tomorrow. In Oregon, a similar lawsuit blocked troop deployments in Portland.
California is now the third state in the nation to designate Diwali an official holiday. Governor Newsom signed the bill adding the international Hindu celebration known as the Festival of Lights to California's official holiday list. South Bay Assemblymember Ash Kalra, who co-authored the bill, called it a significant moment for South Asian families. Diwali falls on October 20th this year. Pennsylvania and Connecticut also celebrate that holiday.
A new state law is aimed at combating anti-Semitism in school. The law signed by Governor Newsom will create a state office of civil rights, which would track reported incidents of anti-Semitism in schools. It would also create guidelines for how school districts respond to such incidents. The California Teachers Association opposed the bill, saying it could infringe on academic freedom. U.S. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon is receiving security from the U.S. Marshal Service after accusing Governor Newsom's office of inciting threats against her. The dispute stems from a social media post by Governor Newsom's communications director, Izzy Garden, connecting a previous comment by Dillon to a fire at a liberal judge's home in South Carolina. Garden's post, which suggested Dillon had publicly targeted this judge, came as investigators revealed the fire may not have been intentionally set. Dillon says she hasn't had any direct conversations with the governor's office about this.
I think that would be productive because the flippant response from the governor's office yesterday was that I owed them an apology. So he and his staff can go pound sand and they can just stop, endangering people's lives the way they are.
The governor's office told us in a statement, Ms. Dillon owes us a full and complete apology for her blatantly false implications. Our office never threatened her, in contrast to the Trump administration's vile rhetoric against sitting judges. She and her associates own that dangerous, disgraceful, and un-American rhetoric, and she should apologize for that, too.
Oakland police launched a new homicide investigation after finding the body of a man who'd been shot at Arroyo Viejo Park. The body was found yesterday morning near Olive and Ritchie Streets. KTVU has learned investigators are looking into the possibility that the man was shot somewhere else and his body left at that park. The park has a playground, rec center, and community garden and is very popular with children.
Thoughts and prayers go out to the victim, their family, and their survivors, but one loss of life in Oakland is way too many, and we want to ensure that we provide a safe, clean place for people to grow up.
No suspects have been identified. Oakland police are asking anyone with information about the case to contact them immediately.
Loved ones of a nurse hurt in the crash of a medical helicopter in Sacramento this week are asking for prayers as she continues to recover. Susie Smith is one of 3 people, along with the pilot and paramedic, who suffered serious injuries when the helicopter went down on Highway 50 Monday night. The pilot managed to steer clear from houses before crashing into an empty spot on the road. No one on the ground was hurt. Smith's family and friends say she is exceptional and gives her time and expertise freely to help bring medical care to people in Nicaragua.
Lit a candle and I started praying and I cried because it just seems like always the best people in this world seem to be the ones that get hurt or, things happen to.
Bystanders rushed to help after that helicopter went down in a fiery crash. All 3 victims are in critical condition. San Francisco is facing a major policy battle over how to house people who are homeless. Supervisor Matt Dorsey has introduced legislation to halt city funding for supportive housing that allows drug use. Supervisor Dorsey is challenging the long-standing Housing First model, which prioritizes housing without immediate sobriety. He argues the current drug-tolerant approach is a deadly experiment, says a drug-free environment is essential for recovery. The move has ignited a fierce debate between elected officials and public health advocates who support harm reduction programs.
A new state law is targeting the sale of stolen goods on San Francisco streets. State Senator Scott Wiener and Mayor Daniel Lurie joined police and community group members to celebrate the new legislation, which was signed by Governor Newsom. The bill, authored by Senator Wiener, allows San Francisco to prevent stolen goods from ending up on the street through targeted interventions from law enforcement. The law requires permits or proof of purchase for the sale of merchandise suspected to be obtained through retail theft.
What SB 276 will do, and again, thank you to the governor for signing it, will give the city of San Francisco, the mayor, the board of supervisors, San Francisco Police Department an additional tool to hold accountable and to address this issue and to put a stop to the sale of stolen goods on our streets.
Under the new law, vendors who sell without a permit or proof of purchase can receive citations for the first 2 violations. On the 3rd offense, vendors can face misdemeanor charges and up to 6 months in jail.
New technologies such as artificial intelligence take massive amounts of electricity. Now we know new renewable energy sources are going up beyond what's being used. A new report finds cleaner energy sources are exceeding demand. Analysts say when looking worldwide for the first 6 months of the year, the power generated from renewable energy sources such as solar and wind was greater than that of coal for the first time on record.
This indicates that fossil fuels no longer needs to grow to meet our appetite for electricity.
The report found global solar generation rose by 31%, wind generation increased by almost 8%. Researchers say China made massive gains, adding more solar and wind projects than the rest of the world combined. China's fossil fuel generation also fell by 2% in the first half of the year. But the report found the U.S. broke the worldwide trend, growing more reliant on fossil fuels as demand for electricity increased faster than clean energy was produced.
It is 8:51, and we still have the slowest traffic in the Bay Area, in that Silicon Valley, although even that is beginning to get better. I can see it change, and you probably maybe just woke up and said, wow, that doesn't look good at all. But at least it's getting better. San Mateo Bridge is improving as well. These are slow improvements, but what we didn't have this morning was a huge problem like yesterday when we had a problem in San Francisco. Today, it's just been ordinary slow traffic, and, you know, I'll take that. 8:51, let's bring Steve back with today's weather.
I lost you at just waking up. Just waking up.
Just waking up. For
Just
me,
waking
that was
up
6
now.
hours
Okay.
ago.
Snooze in. All right, here we go. Say goodbye to these. Goodbye. Probably for a while. At least a week to 10 days is the way it looks, unless something dramatically changes here. But we are going into a significant cool down here. Santa Rosa, Napa, Concord, Livermore, all 91. Cloverdale, Campbell, and Clayton were all 92. San Rafael, 90. San Jose, 86. Atherton, San Mateo, and Redwood City, all 84. Oakland, 78. The city was 73. Because that's what happened. The fog, all of a sudden, that offshore breeze turned westerly and it came pouring in, even though it's below the towers. That's all it takes in the city. I mean, you can now look. That's one heck of a fog bank, all the way down to Hollister, Santa Cruz, up to Cloverdale, all moving, you know, extremely up and down the coast, and even now west to east. So that spells cooler to the cooler. Santa Rosa, Oakland, Livermore, San Jose, down we go. 72, 70, 76, and 74. Went 66 in the city after a low of 60. The reason being there's a south wind. That's kind of a mild pattern. The water temps are still pretty warm. So if it was a west or northwest, I'd be cooler on that high. But there it is. That's a south-southwest breeze. And that makes for some warm temps. I mean, Half Moon Bay has been one of the warmest temps all morning long at 63. Yesterday was 73 right there at the Caldecott, 1,400 feet. Now it's 56. 100% RH, south wind 5 gusting to 14. And there's your onshore breeze. Travis was up to 29, now just west-southwest. 60s on most of the temps here. Brentwood's now 65, but Sunnyvale 63, Concord 63. So we're almost isothermal again. System dropping down from the north and picking up that moisture has opened the door to that big fog bank. I do think Thursday night, Friday, we'll get some rain north. About Marin County, San Pablo Bay north looks to be the line. I'll buy that. Santa Rosa with a 1/4 inch, but there's a bigger system to the south on Friday into the weekend. That will be for mainly Arizona, New Mexico, the remains of Hurricane Priscilla. But I think next week, next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, could be our first real big rain of the season is the way it looks here. For today, big fog bank returns, onshore breeze in place, mix of sun and fog and low clouds, what have you, but 60s, 70s, and 60s and 70s will be the rule here next few days, you guys.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Steve. Online, in the hallways, even in group chats, the way kids are bullied is changing, but so is the fight against it. When you join us on the 9, we'll talk with an expert about the signs and warnings parents need to know and how early intervention can change everything. Welcome back. A favorite East Bay burger chain just opened a restaurant on Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. Nation's Giant Hamburgers cut the ribbon on the new restaurant yesterday afternoon. The chain was founded in San Pablo back in 1952. It is still known for its big burgers, hearty breakfast, and fresh baked pies. Nation's co-founder says that opening an outlet on the wharf is a dream come true.
Can we be in San Francisco Bay Area without being in San Francisco? So it's tremendous to be here, and I appreciate seeing everybody, and we're really excited.
City officials say they believe Fisherman's Wharf is experiencing a renaissance with more restaurants opening and the addition of the Sky Star Ferris wheel there. There are also events planned for Fleet Week and a redesign of the wharf that is underway.
California is awarding more than $38 million in funding to programs that provide children access to outdoor educational opportunities. The money will support more than 100 programs statewide through the Youth Community Access Program. It'll fund field trips, gardening programs, workforce development, and more. Governor Newsom says it's important to fund these programs as the Trump administration moves to defund public lands and the national park system. Now to a new study that shows rent prices in San Francisco are rising at a faster pace than any other major U.S. city. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, the average rent for a one-bedroom home jumped 12% since last year. At the same time, rent prices across the country are down 1% since last year. Oakland and San Jose have seen moderate increases of 3%.
A group of community members in San Francisco are teaming up to create the next generation of leaders. The group launched the Asian Pacific Islander Building Community Leaders program. It will connect aspiring leaders in the city with experienced and seasoned ones from the community, with a focus on running for political office. The program starts with 15 slots for mentorships and plans to expand in the future. Those selected will get to take part in a campaign boot camp before being teamed up with a mentor. The deadline to apply is October 19th. We'll be right back with more Mornings on 2 to 9. It starts in just 60 seconds. We'll see you over there.